La diffusion vient de démarrer. Tous les participants sont en mode écoute seule.
Okay, hello to all of you. So I hope you're all doing good. So we're gonna start this the third webinar. And today I'm gonna talk a little bit about audio vocal work, about laterality, because it's very important stage in the Tomatis program, particularly the laterality. So just a few things that you already know, but I want to go through again. And then I will continue on the case studies you had sent to me since we didn't finish them last time, so we can look at them this time. So I'm going to start with the audio vocal work. So you know that it's a key component of the Tomatis method because it has the active work is going to have an incidence on the body, on the emotions, on the voice, on attention and memory, and on language. So on the body level, it gets the possibility, it enhances the embodiment, the development of the embodiment, the body schema, the relationship between space and body, and everything that has to do with fine motor skills. Okay, so that's the importance when we work with active work on the body, on the integration of the body. Then you have the work on the emotions, on the stress and anxiety that will decrease with the active work, improvement of self-efficacy and self-confidence. So these are very important parameters. Self-regulation on the executive processes, be an inhibition. Then improvement on the communication skills and the social engagement. Okay, and remember that we work on communication, and communication has to do with oneself first and then with others. And that's why this active stage was so important for Tomatis. So for the voice, we're going to act on the timbre, on the pitch tuning, on vocal fine motor skills, on fluency, on the prosody, on the expressive skills. We work also with the vocal work on attention and memory, so the working memory, the phonological loop, the procedural memory, the long-term semantic memory, selective attention on the sustained attention, and the executive processes like planning, organization, selection, and so on. On language level, we're going to work on the phonological awareness, the decoding in reading, the capacities of comprehension and analysis, the regulation of rhythm, the sensitivity to onset syllable, and the saccade and paused regulation, visual processing of words and sentences. Okay, that's why it's so important also on the vestibular level, which is in relation with this visual processing of words and sentences. So what's the audio vocal loop? So information goes in through the ear, then I will do a production of sound, so through the mouth, and in the middle you have the body and the integration of all this information in the body, and that gives back information so I can produce sounds correctly and also integrate them correctly. So listening modifies the voice and the voice modifies our listening. So that's the audio vocal loop. So it's mainly done through bone conduction, which is going to develop the harmonics. It also gives cortical arousal. That's why bone conduction is so important. It's also the inside listening of our own voice. Okay, we're going to hear our voice from the inside. Okay, so we're going to get more resonance. It also helps to get less vocal fatigue and a better listening, since I'm integrating very fast through bone conduction. So bone conduction is essential in this work. That's why the forebrain is also very interesting, even if it's only a small part of the vocal work. Then we have the auditory laterality. Okay, I have seen on some of the tests you send me for to look at them during this webinar, that some of them have no auditory laterality. I cannot see how we can work on a listening test interpretation if there is no laterality, auditory laterality on the test. It's essential for our work. The integration of the laterality is essential in our work, and you really need to get the laterality going on your test so we can work with it. Okay, so we have two ways of perceiving. There's the laterality of perception, which is how we perceive from the exterior through air conduction, and then the laterality of production, which is from the interior through bone conduction and proprioception. So here I put some of the roles of the right and the left ear. So speech is heard better with the right ear if the characteristics to be processed are those connected to the sounds of a given language, like the phonemes. The left ear might have an advantage in discriminating non-phonetic aspects of speech, like the prosody, the emotional cues, etc. So the left brain analyzes temporal sound and sequential patterns of sound. The duration is better discriminated with the right ear, for example. And the right brain integrates the spatial properties of sounds, pitch, timbre, and loudness, which are discriminated better with the left ear. So the left hemisphere dominates in processing rapidly changing sound, such as in speech, and the right hemisphere dominates in processing prolonged tones, such as in music, for example. So the right ear focuses on the precise sounds, and the left ear provides the general picture of the sonic background. So the left hemisphere, short time window, so rapid variation, the consonants, right hemisphere, long time window, processing of the vowels. So that's why laterality is so important, because we're not going to be functioning in the same manner in function, or treating the information in the same manner in function if we're left or right ear. And this is very interesting because this how do you say that? This has been already tested on babies. There's a research where they work with acoustic emissions, and they have realized that this is already true on babies. That on the babies, the left ear is going to process long time windows, and the left hemisphere short time windows. So even on newborns, this is already proven to be true. Okay. So remember that when we perceive with the right ear, we go directly to the left auditory cortex and then to the organs of speech. With the left ear, we have one more step to go through, which is the interhemispheric transfer before being able to go to the organs of speech. So we're going to lose time. It's going to ask for more efforts in the control of language, and we're not going to process the information in the same way, since we're processing with the right auditory cortex, or if we're right ear, with the left auditory cortex, with the information we just saw earlier. So here the process is going to take longer. So the left ear and processing latency, due to the processing latency that it involves, a left auditory laterality will require a greater effort to process information, and therefore cause greater fatigability. And it will have consequences on attention, concentration, and memorization. So the left ear deals more with the perception and processing of prosody, rhythm, and inflection, the music of language, and it is more sensitive than the right ear to the affective dimension of speech conveyed by intonation. So, wait, there's something right in here. Yes, I will send you the article. No problem. On the babies. Okay. So right auditory laterality and emotional regulation. When I use my right ear, my right auditory laterality favors the development of positive affect and motivational mechanisms inducing communication and interconnectedness. There's a better stress management, there's emergence of social commitment, and also awakening of resilience. So you see the importance of this right auditory laterality. If I am more left auditory laterality, we have excessive left auditory laterality favors the development of negative affect and motivational mechanisms inducing distance. And Tomatis used to say that people using their left ear, it was a system, a defense system, and it was a way to put a distance between themselves first and then between others, so to protect themselves. Except since they're passing through the right hemisphere that treats in a general manner more emotional, in an emotional manner, the information, this distance is not well controlled because the people are overflowed by the emotions. So there's going to be withdrawal, brooding, lack of initiative, emotional stagnation. They are stuck in the past and they look behind. These elements gives you a lot of information on the how fast you're going to be able to move or not in a program. Okay, in function if the person is left auditory or right auditory laterality. If you have a left auditory person and in function of the result, well, takes you more programs to get to the same result than a person who's right auditory laterality, because the persons are in the past, they are stuck, there's an emotional stagnation, and you have to push them into to activate them, to put them back into a motion, if we can say that like that. So this is very important. Okay. So we can look at this in this manner. So we have a low extraction or low resistance. So it's like you have a very heavy backpack that you have to carry with all your past that you are pulling with you. Then when we do the Tomatis stimulation with Mozart, we try to go to get results which are stronger in extraction and in resistance. So to lateralize to the right ear means driving the person frontwards. Okay, we're going to try to push the person to move, to advance. Okay, so past, we are in the left ear, future, the right ear, and the present, maybe we're using correctly both ears with a right ear dominant. Okay, because we need both ears since we saw that they don't have the same functions. But for the treatment of language, we really need to have a right ear dominance to be able to process the information rapidly. So when we talk, the laterality of the audiovocal loop, meaning the laterality of self-listening, is an important indicator of how well a person masters his or her own voice. Right auditory laterality ensures better control of the voice as well as an improved body image because I'm closer to myself. There's less distance between my body, if we can say that like that, and also at the voice level with the larynx that we will see. Okay. When processing a complex sound, the right ear takes charge of the high frequency components of the message more easily. So that's why we also lateralize on the right ear. That's also why we also work with high frequencies, and which the auditory lateralization is going to boost cortical arousal. So even when we don't lateralize, since the right ear takes in charge more the high frequencies, and in Tomatis we use a lot of high frequencies, there's also a pre-lateralization when we are working with filter sounds, for example. So we have several forms of auditory laterality through air conduction, through bone conduction, and through the proprioceptive sensations that we get from our body. And being truly lateralized for Tomatis is using the right side for these three aspects. So the information can be controlled correctly. Oops, that was too fast. Okay, so here we have the air pathway. Okay, here we have the bone pathway, and then we have the tendon muscle pathway. So we have our three pathways, which is the proprioception pathway. Remember that the frequency propagation in the air is the high frequencies have a tendency to go straight and they die quite fast. Okay, we don't perceive them because there are short waves and they're gonna die very fast. Then you have the medium frequencies, so they go like this. So that's the high, the medium that go that way, and the frequencies that we perceive the most is the low frequencies, and that's why uh, Tomatis uses a lot filtering when we are working on reading and so on, or when we are using also just filters to work in the linguistic area. That's why you see filters appear in those programs, if we take the L programs, because we want to perceive more the high frequencies with the ear and train the ear to respond correctly in that area, since most of the linguistic of the language is and the quality of the sounds is going to be brought by the high harmonics and the medium frequencies. So that's why we need the filters, and that's why when we start reading, we always put a filter at 2000 to force the ear, to pull the ear to perceive those frequencies. Remember that the ideal curve has a dome in the higher frequencies. Okay, so it means that it should be able to perceive them very precisely, and on the contrary, we shouldn't perceive so much the low frequencies. And in a general manner, it's kind of the contrary. We are going to perceive more the low frequencies and have a harder time with the high frequencies. You probably have noticed that in most curves, the very high frequencies, 6,000, 8,000, we don't control them correctly. The bone is always kind of over the air in that area, because it would ask for, I think that's my personal idea, but for a lot of exercising, so we will be able to aim correctly in those frequencies. It's also, and that's why also the curve in the high frequencies goes down, okay? Because you need more also intensity to be able to perceive in that area. So that's why filters are very important, because I have been seeing programs where people take off the filtering very fast. I think sometimes it's in reading. I mean, when I'm talking about the filters in reading, where we go from 2000 and progressively we bring it down to 500 or 1000. Sometimes in function of your curve, you really have to visualize what you are doing with your filter. Do I need to pull on those frequencies or not? If I need to pull on the frequencies, I would stay a little longer on a 2000 filter while the person is doing reading. Remember also that the recurrent nerve is longer here on the left and shorter on the right. And that's why when we control, and on the audio vocal loop, Tomatis says it's one of the other reasons why we should be lateralized on the right ear. Because what happens when I listen with my right ear, I go to the left auditory center, so that's the same than before. And then there's the recurrent, which is shorter on the larynx, before going back to the right ear. Okay, if I use my left ear, remember we add one more step here in the interhemispheric transfer, but we're gonna also add a longer step here before getting to the control, with which we're gonna have 5 steps instead of 4 steps. So it's gonna ask for a lot more effort, and also that means that we lose information, okay? Because the person, while we're doing all this transfer of information and taking longer pathways, first, the quality of what we are perceiving, it's going to be harder to keep up. with what the person is saying. And secondly, the sound emission, the control of my voice, it's not going to be possible, because once I try to control the sound I'm producing, it's going to be too long and I cannot control it. Okay. So in production, what happens when we have a left auditory laterality? So like Tomatis said, you establish a distance from oneself and from the others also. Generally, there's a flat and monotonous voice. There can be lack of energy and expression. It's source of fatigue and anxiety for the person and for others also. And there's going to be a slowdown in the speech fluency, because the time the information get back and it's treated, it's longer. And there's going to be punctuation, hesitations in the speech, where the person is going to go because the processing is longer, and it can have an effect of inhibition, since it asks for more efforts and difficulties to control speech. So the ideal is to have a balance between the right and the left ear, with a dominance of the right ear. Tomatis always said you have to be right ear all the way to the left. So we need both ears, but at one point we have to aim with the right ears, particularly on speech and language. So you can live considering the future, take the decisions that take into account at the same time our individual sensitivity, our emotions, and our capacities of adaptation to the exterior reality. So we are present, we are here, and we are able to manage all the different processes that are necessary. Somebody who is too much right ear will lack sensitivity, so that's not good either. The emotions are put far away, and it's often aggressive. That's why when we have aggressive people, we don't lateralize them, because we may do that they become even more aggressive. Okay, they are too far from their emotional world. They're not in contact anymore with their emotional world. So generally, these people, we don't see them in Tomatis. Okay, they don't come to Tomatis because they don't have any problems, since their emotions are very far away. Generally, they consider it's the other persons who have a problematic. So it's the others who have to change, and they don't have to change. So it's persons, types of people we don't see much. Somebody who is too much left ear is under his emotional control, so he's overflowed by his emotions, and he will have difficulties advancing positioning oneself. And that's where the active work is very important, is to push the person, to give them this impulsion, so they get self-confidence and they start advancing and controlling their emotions, positioning themselves. So that's why the laterality is so important. So we can analyze the listening test. Even in the way you analyze the test, it's going to be different. So the purpose of auditory laterality, as you know, is to quantify the involvement of the right ear in relation to the left ear in the audiovocal circuit. So how the two systems are functioning. So what we're going to do is modify a person control of his or her voice, and we quantify the observed change as an improvement or an aggravation. Okay, so we have the extraction and the resistance method. So then we're going to work with this table to analyze the results. Okay, so we can be here to understand. Okay, so here we get the extraction results. A high result is a strong extraction. From 11 to 18, we are in what we call strong extractions. Low extractions is from 10 down. Okay, then we have the same thing with resistance, except it's the contrary. A strong resistance is a low result. A low resistance is a high result. Okay, and then we can have people who are strong, have a strong resistance and a strong extraction, a low resistance and a low extraction, or people who can be in contradiction, who have a strong resistance with a low extraction, or a strong extraction with a low resistance. So here people control of the emotions, they have an emotional distance, they have positive affect, they're more into the future, greater capacity to pull out from the influence of the left ear. If they are too high up, okay, here we have people who are cut off from their emotions, okay? So that's why generally, and that's why you can see we don't lateralize them, okay? When we get results who are too strong in resistance and in extraction, we are not going to lateralize them because they're already putting a distance at the emotional level, okay? So in function of the results, you know that you have to do a little calculation, and here the result you get gives you the laterality you have to go to, okay? If I get 7, it means I'm going to have to lateralize my client from 10 to 7. So I have to pull him. It means that he's not too much on the right ear or his left ear. The resistant result is not too good. So I have to lateralize to stabilize his laterality. So in orange is the laterality you have to go to in functions of the results you get in extraction and in resistance, in function if you are in coherence or in contradiction. So here on the low extraction, so people are much into their emotions, so they're stuck into the past, there's emotional flood, negative affect, less resistance to the influence of the left ear, okay? And here people manages the emotions in a correct manner, if we can say that like that. They have a greater resistance to the influence of the left ear, so they can rationalize in a certain manner their emotions and their sensitivity, okay, which is not going to be the case when we are in with a result of low resistance. We're going to have a tendency, if there's an emotional situation, to go very fast, to the left side, so to the left ear. So it's normal. We all go from left to right, okay? But at one point, there's one ear that is dominant and that controls. But if I am in a very emotional situation, it is quite possible that suddenly I'm going to go to my left side and my emotions are going to come out. But what's important is to be able to control it and be able to come back to the right ear, or if we can say that like that, to control my emotions as fast as possible, okay? And that will depend on the results I have on this left and on the laterality test. Just gonna drink some water. Okay, so remember that you get a coherence result. The laterality corresponds to the lowest gain between extraction and resistance. And if you have contradiction, the laterality corresponds to the sum of the two extraction and resistance gain, including the gray zone, which is 10. Okay, there's a question, do we need to lateralize to 7 before we start active work? No, we can start lateralization before starting active work. In a general manner, we don't lateralize in T and F programs, or we can start lateralization on an F program, on a second F program, if we can say that like that. Or if the listening test also, you just don't lateralize because the table tells you to lateralize, okay? You have to take into account if there are spatialization errors, if there is no imbalance on between the left and the right ear. So you have to take into consideration if there's no vertigo, if there's no dizziness, if there's no epileptic problems, aggressivity, like I was saying, and other parameters that we will see later. So, but yes, you can lateralize even if you don't go into active work. It's very important to lateralize, even if you're not going into active work. But do we need to be at 7 before we start active? No, because you can keep lateralizing during the active work in function of how far you're going. But it is it all depends on, that's where the analysis of the listening test, but I would say when it's possible, the faster you lateralize, we can say like that, the better. Okay, so because you're helping the person to get into motion. Okay, but it means that all the parameters of the listening test, the bone curve shouldn't be overlapping and so on. So there are quite a few elements to take into consideration before you can lateralize. But you don't need to do active work, even if lateralization was made for active work. But since active work is part of the Tomatis program and it's a very important part, generally we start lateralizing before starting the active work, if it's possible. Oops, sorry. That was a bad idea. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so we were here. So lateralization is considered as a process and not as a goal to be necessarily reached. Okay, lateralization will always be considered as a progressive process and not like an abrupt change of state between two different balance settings on the headphone. So if we have to lateralize from 10 to 7, we're going to do it progressively. Okay, generally we go 2 by 2, or that means 2 days in 10, 2 days in 9, 2 days in 8. And then when we get to 7, we make a plateau until the end of the program. Okay, especially if we're not doing active work. We can also do it more progressively. We can do it every 3 days. We can do 3 days at 10, 3 days at 9, 3 days at 8, and then 3 days at 7, and we make a plateau on 7. Okay. Then when we have started lateralizing, when we do a new listening test, we're going to check out if we need to lateralize or not again, or if maybe the lateralization has already changed and we can stay on 7, unless we have to keep going on lower lateralization in function of the result. Okay, so in ELMA or level 1 programs, lateralization, if deemed necessary, starts at the earliest from the second program. So the first programs T and F are always run with balance set at 10, unless we do, like I was saying, a second F, and then we can start lateralizing if we think it's necessary. But just thinking like that, if we're going to use again an F program, it means that the difficulties of our client are probably quite important, and it's probably quite sure that we're not going to lateralize. Okay. So the degree of adjustment of the auditory lateralization is determined by the information gathered about the person, okay, emotional state. There's no epileptic condition, no dizziness, vertigo, the balance between the right and the left curves. If you have an imbalance with the right being higher than the left, you don't lateralize because you're going to increase the imbalance between the right and the left. Okay, if it's the contrary, you can lateralize, but softly, because you need to check that there is no problems of vertigo and dizziness before doing that. You have to take into account the number of spatialization errors, the air curve over the bone curve, the relation between the air curve has to be mostly over the bone curve before lateralizing, and the results in the laterality test. So, and it's the synthesis of this information that will determine the approach to be taken. Therefore, the auditory laterality test result alone is not a sufficient condition to start lateralizing. So remember that when there's epilepsy, convulsion, it's not, you don't lateralize. Dizziness, vertigo, not okay. People who are prone to anger and irritability, you don't lateralize because you're gonna get them even more irritable and angry. Imbalance of the right ear, like I was saying, not okay. Spatialization errors at 50% of more, you don't lateralize. Air conduction over bone conduction, the overlaps, the bone conduction being over at 50% or more. So priority is given to the regulation of the air and the bone conduction. That's why you just don't look at the result of the laterality test. You have to take the other elements into well, whatever. I don't know how you say. Let me just see something. Okay, there's somebody who tells me I usually spend 4 days on 10, 4 days on 9. That's another way of working. But you will get just 1 day on 7, 4, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, you will only get 1 day on 7. So if you want to go more progressively, do it on 3 days. So you get a little bit more time on 7 when you get at the end of your first program lateralizing. Okay. Generally, the most progressive is 3 days each in a general manner. So if you have a laterality of 10, we would generally not lateralize. What about 8 or 9? I'm not sure I understood. Just a second. I'm going to go back to just a second. Oops. Okay. When you have the result of your laterality test, okay, from the result you get from extraction and resistance, okay. For example, if we get, I don't know, let's say that we get a result of extraction which is +5, okay. So +5 means that it's -25, okay, and a result of resistance at 9, let's say, which is 5, okay. That means -25, it's going to give you a result of -20, okay, because we're in contradiction. So -20 means that we have to bring the laterality down to 4, okay. So what does that mean? Is we're not going to go from 10 to 4 directly. We're going to have to do in the first programming from 10 to 7, and we do a plateau on 7. We don't keep lateralizing even if the test says that we have to go down to 4. So we go from 10 to 7, and then when the person comes back, we redo a laterality test, see if this result has improved or not. Maybe we won't have to go down to 4, but maybe we have to go down to 5. So we will go, since we finished on 7 on the previous program, we'll go down from 7 to 4, to 5. I'm sorry. Okay. So the results that you get here is not the result of it's not the laterality of the person, is which setting of laterality you have to get to, okay? Because the result of the laterality of the person is extraction result means. So what are we doing in the extraction result? The extraction result is we're acting on the left ear, since I'm starting with an intensity of 70 decibels on the left ear, and I ask the person to count down, and progressively I change the balance between the left and the right ear until the person tells me I hear myself on the right ear. Okay. So if the person gives you a result, tells you that they hear themselves on the right side from 11 to 18, it means that they are right-eared persons, okay? Because they perceive themselves, even when they have an intensity which is more important on the left ear, on the right side, okay? When we go from 10 to 2, the intensity is already stronger on the left ear, and they are perceiving themselves on their right ear, I'm sorry, and they still keep perceiving themselves on the left ear, okay? So that's going to give you on the control if they are left-eared or right ear. And then the resistance is how they're going to manage between their capacity to manage the resistance to go to the left ear on the emotional level. So that's why it's the contrary here. If I get a result here, it means that even when my ear is still, it's already more on the left side, I still perceive myself strongly on the right. And here it's the contrary. I'm very strong on the left, and I perceive myself on the right. Okay, so the result are these ones. This gives you the information to what laterality you have to go on your program. Okay, so I don't know if it makes it clearer, but this, the laterality, it gives the information which laterality do I have to use on the balance I have to put to get to on my headphones. Okay, and to do it progressively. Okay, so we saw that. Okay, so I don't know if you have questions on this. Well, I already answered some of them. Before we go to the case studies that we didn't see last time. I'm looking at the questions. Okay, I don't see new questions. So there was a question, if you have laterality of 10, we would generally not lateralize. Yeah. What about 8 or 9? Well, we bring the laterality down to 8 or to 9 in function, since we have to go to that laterality level. So we will stay 3 days on 10 and then go to 9 and stay on that laterality. It means that the person is correctly lateralized and we don't need to lateralize them that much because their laterality is already quite good. Okay. So last time, I think I'm still taking the case studies in the other order they were sent. Okay. So I think we had done 2 of them, I think, last time. So the third one in the list is the one from Michel Vaudrin. So if you can present the case, I'm going to open your microphone. Up. Okay, so do you hear me, Michel?
Hello?
Hello.
Just a minute, sorry.
Oops.
Oh, okay, yes, you do have it. Yes, it's the right one.
Wait, doesn't want to stay here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I hope it's not too long. I will try to make it as quickly as possible. So, info in October 2015. This is a 15-year-old girl, very, very nice, very wise, very mature. She's twice exceptional, meaning that she's gifted with ADD and high anxiety. That was diagnosed in October 2014, and she was also diagnosed with depression. Living with her mother since parents separated 4 years before that. Parents are in good term, the father is excellent, but the mother also went through depression through this separation, and she's very, very close to her mother. As you will see, she's also had separation anxiety from her mother since she was very young. She has ADD, as I explained before, not hyperactive. I would say hypoactive. She has absolutely no energy, difficulty going to sleep. Even though she takes melatonin, she sleeps over 12 hours per day. Anxiety has always been there, but it severely increased when a whole bunch of events happened. She had had a dog since birth. It died. She had been going to a school she liked. It closed down. She had to start a new school. The anxiety was so severe, she would get panic attacks, vomit on the way to school. She even would lose consciousness, diarrhea, stomach aches, headaches. When this first started, she would just stay in a fetal position in her bed, crying all day. She couldn't even eat, or else she would just vomit. She couldn't even take water. Unfortunately, in Quebec here, it took 1.5 years to see a child psychiatrist, but they didn't really help anyway. During that time, she saw her family doctor, who prescribed different things, different antidepressants that did not work, but now she is on FXR and it's going well. She
FXR
was
is an antidepressive drug?
antidepressant.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes. So for the first 4 months, this is a girl who skipped a grade, like she's very advanced for her age. And but you know, her mother would get home and say, "What did you do today? Did you take a shower?" And she couldn't even answer the question. So once the FXR started, so we're talking about maybe 7 or 8 months after when she was diagnosed, or when she had her first panic attacks, she was able to get a bit of tuition, a bit of with private tutors, and was able to pass her grade 10 exams with very high marks. Okay. But the anxiety was still there. She wasn't going to school. Now she's in grade 11. This is the year we graduate in Quebec to be able to go to college. And the objective here is to be able for her to have enough energy to be able to write the compulsory final exams and to have the energy to write them for 3 hours at a time. Okay. So this is why the parents are reaching out, and the girl.
Okay.
Can we go to the next? Yes.
Yeah.
So brief history. First pregnancy, mother had spina bifida. Second pregnancy was this client. She never moved. Even like as a fetus, she didn't move. She was always very quiet, never hyperactive. There was an epidural, no problems. Third pregnancy was her younger brother. He had major issues throughout his life. I don't know if it's based on vaccinations or whatever. He had very rare diseases. There was a lot of pain. He took a lot of very strong medications. He lost his hair, his nails, his skin, and his body just became super saturated. He started accumulating heavy metals. It was horrible on his gut also, and he became very violent. So Brianne's younger brother would sometimes beat her, push her down for absolutely no reasons. There was a lot of the copper in his blood, which makes people aggressive. So Brianne went, you know, she had to go through this young girl. French spoken by dad, English by mother, French by all other family members. So this little girl is more English than French because the dad isn't with her anymore, but very high language skills. Developed very young, complete sentences at 18 months in both languages with verb conjugations and everything. Developmental history, no medical conditions, interventions, impairments. She never crawled. She walked just before 11 months. She sat at 5 months. Everything was done very quickly without being pushed. Very light sleeper. She's right-handed, uses her right leg. She likes to swing, but nothing excessive. She's always been hypersensitive. I guess this is common with gifted children. They're not just hyper intelligent, they're hyper, all the sensitivities, they're called oversensitivities. Good eye contact, plays with different textures, but she wasn't crazy about walking on grass when she was younger, and she walked on her toes for a while. It was checked out with, I forget if it was an EEG or something like this. Everything checked out fine for her brain. Medical history, so she's taking vitamin D and Effexal now. Never had any accidents or hospitalized. She fell a few times as a kid playing, fell on her head. ENT, no congestion, normal breathing, maybe 1 or 2 ear infections as a child, no serious problem. Along any sounds, again, hypersensitivities, whether it's to sound. She used to sleep very lightly, but now she's a deep sleeper. I mean, it's like she goes in a coma. She's highly intuitive. This is not very usual, to different frequencies, auras, energies that most people do not see. When she tried to go back to school, what she would express was she feels everybody's energy, everybody's emotions, and it just drains her. It's not that just that she hears all the sounds and sees all the lights and all this, is how people feel around her. It's like ever since she was a baby, she feels all those things. Difficult to focus on other sounds, but when she does homework, she'll listen to her own music or watch a movie at the same time. Excellent pronunciation, language skills, rich vocabulary. Sometimes she asks us to repeat because she's not paying attention. She has an attention disorder. Does not turn others out. She responds to her name. She speaks a lot with very close friends. She has very few of them, not very much with outsiders. She's, even as a child, always been an observer, not very quick to join. No allergies, bit of dry skin, perhaps eczema, really nothing serious. Probably has a gut issue, no known intolerances, though we suspect dairy products and wheat. Oral motor, no issues. Sleeping history, so now she wakes up between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. That's since the depression. It used to be 6:45, 7 before. She would go to school regularly. She's always extremely tired to wake up. It's very hard to get her out of bed. Falls asleep around 2 or 3 a.m. even though she can go to bed earlier. Sometimes she can't fall asleep at all. Sometimes she'll vomit at night too, and she's become scared of vomiting. Okay, it used to be 10 or 11 before the depression, so she'd go to bed, go to school. She has always slept in her bed. She listens to music before falling asleep every night. Sometimes needs the mom to massage back or her head. She will bring a beanbag to bed every night to fall asleep, so the heat. Usually sleeps through the night. If the mother is not there, even to this day, because of the separation anxiety, she'll cry at night. She'll go get her mother's sweater or something like this. She used to need a light to fall asleep, not anymore. Sleep was a major issue when she was younger. She only started sleeping her nights when she was, I said 4.5. It was actually 6. No, excuse me, it was when she was 4.5. She would wake up 4 to 7 times a night. Headaches, nightmares, wanted milk, would hear sounds. Now she rarely wakes up, sometimes with growing pain. She's very tall. She's 6 feet tall. So, so she's had severe growing pain since she's 18 months old. Doesn't make any sounds like sleeping, no moaning or anything. Something particular about her sleep, she almost every night has very detailed, extraordinary, and vivid dreams that she can easily recall, including smells, textures, colors, feelings, details. It's almost like she's really living in her dreams. I don't know why. I don't know if that's why she's tired, whatever. She was breastfed. She was not a good sucker. She did not latch on very well because she wasn't putting on weight. She was breastfed, but always supplemented with a bottle. The breastfeeding was very painful for the mom. It was not a relaxed moment for either of them. Then when she started drinking on her own, she would just hold the bottle and stroke her head. She's a very picky eater, suffers from constipation, diarrhea, tummy ache, probably related to the white diet. We're on the next, okay. Sensory motor, frightened when touched from behind, bothered by rough sheets. So there are two things at play here. There's the fact that, you know, for a very long time, she could get hit by her brother, whatever. She never knew where it was going to come from. So there is some trauma there. And she's hypersensitive to many different things, whether it's, you know, having her toenails cut, picky eater, the grass. Again, she prefers sedentary tasks, no energy. She's never played sports or anything like that, even though she has the build of an athlete. She's always been slow, cautious. She avoids taking risks. Somewhat clingy to people. She's not just going to go out. She sticks to her friends or her mom. Fearful, difficult riding a bike. She will not ride a bike to this day. Avoids rapid rotating movements, frequently slumps, lies down, leans head on hand while working, fatigues very easily. This is a huge thing. She'll bump into things. I don't know if it's because of her height and how she grew very quickly. Poor gross motor skills, unsure about how to move her body during movement, stepping over something, going down escalators. She confuses right and left. For sure she's right-handed, but is this right, is this left? Like, she has to think about it. It's not automatic. Distracted by sounds not normally noticed by others, and of course startled with unexpected sounds.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. She's very quiet and polite, but it does bother her when others talk and stuff. So she wears her headphones. They're outer headphones, not in the ear, most of the time. Difficulty understanding, remembering what is said, despite the laterality was checked. She's right-eared. Bothered by smells a lot. She'll refuse to eat foods because of the smell, the texture also. Sensitive to bright lights. Easily distracted by visual stimuli in the room, and will lose her place while copying from a book or board. Emotions, difficulty finishing. This is based on the TED questionnaire. Difficulty finishing things she starts, enjoys few things. Difficulty sustaining her attention, especially, of course, things that she doesn't like or that are difficult or that require, I should say, more energy. It's not she can't intellectually do it, it just requires so much energy. Difficulty getting her mind off certain thoughts, lack of focus, sometimes too dependent, clinging to others, sometimes looks confused or seems in a fog, prefers to be with alone than others, maybe it's just too tiresome, too fearful, anxious, and will feel guilty. Very, very self-aware, extremely empathetic. She will feel for others. If other people get hurt, she will feel for them.
Okay.
We're on the next page. Prefers to be with older kids. Again, with her height and how she's mature, intelligence, always been with older kids. She skipped a grade at age 7. She would have very severe migraines and she would see halos, and she kept saying the students are loud, the teacher's always repeating, and when she was moved up a class, the severe migraine stopped. Shy, unhappy, sad, depressed, but it's gotten better. Withdrawn, doesn't, you know, really like getting involved with others too much. She worries. She prefers being on the outside, functions better with small groups. Language, I had a question for you here. Based on the TED, very little things came up language. However, we see that there are problems when we look at the listening tests with the communication. So difficulty paying attention to it, understanding, remembering what is read or said, even though she has very good reading comprehension skills. Difficulty putting ideas into words, but I think it's more getting ideas to start writing. Difficulty perceiving, understanding what is being said in noisy situations. Attention, difficulty paying attention to details, sustaining attention in, and also organizing, getting started with tasks. Difficulty completing work. Very reluctant, because it's very demanding to do tasks that require sustained mental effort. Often loses, forgets objects, forgets the homework, forgets she had to call someone. Distracted by external stimuli, forgets things concerning everyday activities. We're almost done. Thank you for your patience. Difficulty concentrating on requests, instructions. Will ask, to repeat. Agitates hands and feet, but not that much. Very poor sense of time passing. Finds it hard to concentrate on tasks for more than a few minutes. Puts off tasks that she does not like, and starts several things at the same time without finishing anything. But she will get to it, but she'll need pushing.
Okay.
So I was not trained for level 2 to do the testing. So this client started program F at the very end of October 2015. Near the end of the first intensive, she thought about the school, and she says she was very surprised. She's, I don't have that feeling in my stomach anymore, like the tightness she would feel with the anxiety. When I think about the school, I can think about it, and the anxiety isn't as there, and other negative feelings also. So she felt better. At the end of November, so a month later, again, I couldn't test her. She was put on the E1A program for her high anxiety, and she spent a lot of time cleaning out things, but her perception was that she felt worse after this one. She cried a bit. The crying, because she used to cry a lot more, it stopped in October, and even maybe a bit before that with the medication. Something that was strange was that she found herself wanting to say, I want to go home, I want to go home. And this is something she would say when she was very young, and she felt sad, sick, afraid, tired. And she would say, I want to go home, like I guess to a place of peace or calmness or whatever, but she was already home when she would say those things. She is really looking forward and asking for the third intensive, okay, because she says the anxiety is starting up again. So this is probably due to the upcoming final exams and the graduation.
Okay, she has done only two intensives.
Yes, exactly. We were able to test her like at the very end of December 2015.
Oops.
So this would be her third intensive. So the first test, the first listening test.
How come she didn't do the third intensive before?
Because of lack of time.
Okay.
Like I couldn't get her on it.
Okay.
Okay. And we were told to wait like 3 months we were told to do one, and then we skip a month. We were told that the protocol was you do a month, then you skip, then you do another month, and then we wait for 3 months. The 3 months would have been in March. She was on a March break in Florida with her grandparents for 2 weeks, so she couldn't do that, and then we came back in April. She came back in April.
Okay.
Okay. And she was tested again in April. So the first test we did was in December after she had done 2 intensives. And this is, you have it right in front of you. Give me a second. So we can see that, there aren't any huge separations or great overlapping. It would have been very interesting to see before. I'm sure we would have seen many things. It's not smooth as it should be, and there is some choppiness. We can see in zone 1 the stress and the anxiety. It's the air and the bone are close together. You have the movements that go up and down instead of progressively up. There is disharmony, but nothing. The overall balance between right and left they're quite balanced. A bit less in the communication zone in both the air and the bone, and there is a sharper drop of air in zone 3. Symmetry, it looks quite symmetrical. The general AC-BC relationship, air on top of bone, except for zone 3, so it's good for that. There are no huge gaps in the left ear. In the right ear, again, the air is on top of bone, except for zone 3. No huge gaps. There is some touching, though, in zones 1 and 2.
Okay.
Okay. Then for zone 1, the air, it's not bad in the left ear. In the right ear, there's a very small dip there. For the bone conduction, it's too close to the air, and it's a bit too high at the beginning. In the right ear for the bone conduction, it starts off too high and then dips, but it's, you know, supposed to be going up gradually. And in the left ear, the bone and air start close, and then it gradually, excuse me, I'm in zone 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, left ear, the bone and air, they start close and then gradually goes up. In the right ear, zone 2 for the air, it goes down at the beginning, staying close to the bone, and then it goes up quickly for the communication dome. In the bone conduction, in zone 2, starts close to the air but then drops too low. It's choppy, and the left ear bone conduction, it tries to come up for the communication dome, but it dips back down. And finally, in the right ear, in the bone conduction, it's very disharmonious. It starts too high, then drops only to go back up. Okay, so we have the up and down going. In the last zone, zone 3, the cortical energy, for the air conduction, it goes down a bit too steeply at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And in the right ear, I don't know, you see that, right, in the left ear? Then it goes down really too steeply at the end. And last time, like you had mentioned that for adults, when it went down like this, that could be an indication of depression.
What could be an indication of depression?
When you said that when it went down drastically, when the curve went down drastically, that in the zone 3, that it could be an indication for depression.
Yeah, but that's in bone conduction, not in air conduction.
Okay, it was in bone conduction. Okay, I didn't know. Okay. So we're still in zone 3. So bone conduction does not go down at the end, and it's actually slightly over the air in the left ear. And in the right ear, it does not go down at the end, and it's quite a bit over the air.
Okay.
Spatialization error,
Mm-hmm.
none for the air conduction. Left ear, as we can all see, for the bone conduction, 2 in communication, 2 in cortical energy. In the right ear, 5 in body anxiety, 5 spread out in communication, and 1 for cortical energy. And selectivity, 1 in cortical energy and 1 for the left ear, and 1 in cortical energy for the right ear. Resistance was at 9, extraction at 9, which means the laterality was at 7, so that was good. And availability, mostly available, a tiny bit less in zone 3 in the right and left ears.
Wait a second.
Yes.
On extraction at 9, it means that you're in the low extraction part. Okay, so it's not good.
Okay.
It means you are in the left side. One of her problems here is her. Oh no, wait. Extraction is 5.
What? No, it's 9. Oh, excuse me. Why do I have, why did I write 9 and 9? You're right, it's at 5. It's in her second. I'm sorry, I took this from her second listening.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So she was at 9 and then at 5. Give me a second. So that means minus 25. 5, so minus 20. So you're absolutely right. She was at 4.
Yeah.
Laterality, she was at 4. Thank you very much for pointing that out. So that was in December. When we did it again, like just 2 weeks ago, she was at 9.9.
Okay. But the result that you get on 7 means that you have to lateralize from 10 to 7. Okay, so the result is not bad, but it still needs to be lateralized because being on 9 on extraction means that she's left ear. Okay, her resistance is good, but her extraction is not good. Okay, so you need to lateralize her to get her a little bit out of her past, of her the left ear. The left ear is still dominant in this case. Okay,
Right.
and that's why you need to go to a laterality of 7. Okay.
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 Understand.
Just I want to something. If you look at this curve, okay, at this test, what do you see?
Yes.
Because the description of the test is fine. It corresponds to what we see. But what
Yes.
does it tells you on your client? Okay. What can you say about when you look at the test on the problematics that you describe very precisely on your client?
Okay. Well, I see that there are still issues with the body,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm never too sure what it means when there's all. Okay, when there is a gap that is too big, which is not the case here for the body, it means that the air and the bone, like they're not communicating well. I'm unsure as to what it means when they're close together.
Well, generally, when if there's too close, there's going to be a hypersensitivity. Okay, when they're too far, we can say there's a hyposensitivity. Okay, one, you're putting distance from inside. The bone curve represents the person inside. Okay, how they react. The air is the connection to the outside world, and the red, it's me with me. I don't know how to myself. Okay, and the blue curve gives you how I interact with the exterior. That's why both of them are very important to analyze together. For a depressive person, you have to have the blue and the red. Generally, they go down. Okay, together. Okay, so when you have a trip, what's interesting here is that we don't have a depressive curve. Okay.
Okay.
That's very clear on the listening test. It's not so before maybe the test we had, since we don't have before the
Exactly. This is after 2 intensives.
yeah
And medication.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's that we have the medication, so it's hard to see what's happening. But what we can see is that we have curves that are quite flat. Okay, so in a general manner, even if they're a little bit, let's say, going up, if we can say at the end here, but in a general manner, if you test, you have quite flat curves. Okay, so that's a very important indication of the state of your client, which is flat. Okay, which corresponds with what you're saying and with all the effort she has to make and the fatigue she can be that you describe it. Okay.
Thank you.
I wanted to know, what kind of follow-up does she have?
What do you mean?
Does she go to a psychologist? Does she has a counseling? Does she's
No,
help?
no, she doesn't. She tried going to see a psychologist. What happens is that they teach her how to organize her agenda and things like that. And she says, I don't need that. I know how to organize an agenda. She went to see another one who, what did she, like behavior therapy or something like that? And she came back like really upset. She never even talked about it. So I don't know what that was all about. We went to see a child psychiatrist, and they told her she should wake up earlier and to really force herself to stay up. So it's been things like that.
Okay.
It's like she's lost confidence in going to see anyone. and that's how she feels. She does go to see someone who does motor reflex integration if she's feeling stressed, things like that. Somebody who does energy work also, who does the LEAP program, who does Padova and all this. And this person she likes to go see. She feels better afterwards.
Okay, so that's very good because she has a lot of sensory integration issues that have to be taken care of.
What do you
And
mean?
excuse me?
Can you what do you see for the sensory integration?
I don't see anything. It's from all the descriptions that you did.
Yes.
It's hard today to see on a test where you already have two programs because we don't know what was before. But from all the descriptions that you did, it's clear that the hypersensitivity is so important that it's very hard to manage. But from the test, what I see is the flatness of the curves. We can also be a consequence of medication, since the antidepressive drugs have an effect on humor, okay, and changes in the humor. You're gonna have flat curves that appear. So that's why it's very hard to do an interpretation of a test when the person is also on medication that changes the way they really are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But
So
one thing you can take into account is the laterality, which is in this first test not very good at all. I would say the fact that even if she only have 2 errors of selectivity, which are over here more or less on one ear and a little bit down more or less around here on the other ear. Yeah, there's on the energy side, there's a lack of capacity to use the higher frequencies to get energy. It's also a way of putting, like Tomatis used to say, it's also an emotional curtain. Okay, remember that selectivity has a function on the cognitive, on the linguistic, and on the emotional level. Okay, so on the cognitive level, it's going to be hard to put their ideas together and so on when selectivity is close, but also it's hard to analyze because of the medication. But it's also a very important sign of anxiety. Okay, and the fact to have also a lot of
excuse me, the selectivity is a sign of anxiety.
Yeah, on the emotional level, yes. You pull a curtain to protect yourself from what's happening and what's coming in. So selectivity means that there is something that is bothering you. You're not able to analyze and to differentiate pure sounds from each other, which really have to be done in a very fast manner and with you don't have to think normally. Okay, so it means that if you're not able to get a correct selectivity, that there is so much anxiety that you are not able to analyze different sounds. So imagine for language, it means that in real life where you work with pure sound don't exist and you are just in front of complex sounds, language becomes very complicated. Also thinking becomes complicated, and on the emotional level also, because it's a important protection. Okay, even if you only have one errors on the left and the right, and that combines also with the spatialization errors. Okay, which is also a sign of confusion from where you get the information. Okay, so it's very hard. You're not able to analyze sounds and you're not sure where they come from. Well, to get self-confidence, it's going to be very hard. Okay, because you're never sure of what's going on around you, on how you are integrating the information, and then also in function of the areas, how to analyze it on the different levels. Okay.
I showed both tests, the one for December and
the next one
for April, to be able to compare them.
Okay, so what can you say about this one? So that's the next one.
Yes, excuse me, I'm going to get my notes somewhere. Okay. Where am I?
I don't know if somebody wants to say something. I can open the microphones.
Is there any comments?
I don't know if somebody wants Maud, would you like to say something? Since I see that you're. Oh no.
Who's there?
No. Okay, no, she's not there anymore. So I don't know if somebody wants to do
Who's
a
there?
comment.
Was Maud there?
Yeah, she was a while ago. I don't know when she left.
Okay. Okay. I'll see her in Paris. Actually, I'll see her in Vaudreuil. She's coming to Vaudreuil next week for a workshop.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. So I'll start then with this one.
Okay, tell me globally what you think about this test.
Okay, so well, I'm glad to see selectivity errors are gone. So before we talked about the laterality, so yes, there is still the left ear here, so we're going to have to work on that. There is still lots of spatialization errors especially in the body and the communication in the right ear, but still importantly, 3 in zone 3. 1 in the left ear in the communication. We can see here that I'm not sure, I'm trying to look at this one to be sure I'm comparing them right. They're not, I don't know, before you said that you thought the curves were flat, they were flat in the left ear. I see there's still, the bone here is still flat, but I wouldn't call it flat for the right ear. To me, what I saw was different was, of course, there was a lot more gaps in the right ear than the left ear, but the right ear is like smoother, whereas the left ear, it's choppier. Then again, as you always say, we don't see all the frequencies, but what we do see is that, you know what I mean, like it's choppier.
Mm-hmm.
The bone continues to be on top of the ear in zone 3 and touching a bit in the right ear. So there seems to be a lot of issues going on with the right ear.
Well, and if you look at the previous test, which is this one, and now just look at it, and we go back to the new one, you see that there's a separation which is much more. There's important gaps on the right ear. Okay, which means that she's putting a distance towards the outside. So that's something that has to be worked on. Okay, and yeah, remember that if every peak or dip on a curve is a tension. Okay, so it means that there are quite a few tensions on the left ear, which is also the emotional ear. It's the past. It's in relation with her history, if we can say like that, present on the right side. So it means that when the test was done, because it also changes, a test, like I told you on the first webinar, you have to look at the listening test like something that moves. Okay, it's in motion. Okay, so this probably has changed since when she did the test, but here when you did the test there was a big gap almost on all the frequencies with a dip in the communication. So it's like she's putting herself away from others, with like you were saying, difficulties in communication. She's tendency to withdraw herself and so on. So it still corresponds to. But we also have the problem of the medication, and that can act on all this. But for me, the curves, even here, for example, the curve is very flat on the bone curve, even if it's going higher here. But you see, we're changing. We're at almost the same. There's it goes up here, but then it's quite flat also here. Okay. This is almost at the same level than this. Okay, so we have quite still flat curves, but like I was saying, that can be due to medication. So that's why it's very hard to interpret this type of test.
Another thing that I noticed was that on this one, her availability is less than in the other one. It went up.
So that's something that can happen when we start working with that people are normally it should go down, okay? Because normally if selectivity functions correctly, availability, I'm sorry, functions correctly, it should go down the curve. When we work and it goes up like that, I think that's my personal
Yes.
thought, is that the persons are more aware of what's happening around them. So they're opening to what's around, and they feel more, they can be more sensitive to the sounds around. And that's why
Okay.
and then it should go back down again. I think
Okay.
I've seen that in some of my clients. So I imagine it's
Okay.
part of the work we're doing.
Okay. And again, because I had not done level 2, she was unable to do any type of lateralization before or active work.
Okay. But do you think she would be able to do active work with her fatigue?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so then
Uh,
I would go into type like L1B type program and start doing active work, putting reading 10 minutes, no more of reading per day.
okay. I don't increase it near the end. No, it's always 10 minutes.
It will depend of her, of how she does during
Okay.
the reading. If she can stand a little bit more, it's a good thing. But remember that to do the reading, you have to have a good quality voice. Okay, because if you read just like this
Okay.
with no intonation, nothing, is the voice is
Yeah.
flat, it's not gonna be good. Remember that when you do reading, you have to get the gating has to be done by the voice of your client. Okay, so
Yeah.
10 minutes to get 10 minutes of gating is it's quite a hard work. Okay,
Okay.
so you have to check that. You have also to check that the posture is correct, that the person is well
Okay.
positioned. So all this during 10 minutes is good work. She has
Okay.
worked with forebrain or not?
She has tried, but even when she does it, she'll be like, "Oh, can I lie down to do this?" Like it's crazy. You know, it's just to sit up is work.
Mm.
It's
So
yeah.
that's why you need to see if she's going to do the reading or not, because
Okay.
it's
Okay.
this is much more demanding than the forebrain work.
Okay. Okay. She's quite motivated and she's asking, so
Okay, so let's try it and see. And you need to lateralize from 10 to 7.
okay, awesome. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, you bring down the lateralization. Yes.
Wonderful. Good. And excuse me, just for like, can we continue afterwards to do like another intensive in a month, another intensive in a month, or do we have to keep breaks in between the intensives?
Okay, you need to keep breaks in between the intensive. I think the generally the way I work is between the
Yes.
first and the second intensive, I do a 4 to 6 weeks break.
Yes. That's what we
Between
did. Okay.
the second and the third intensive, I do more or less a 6 to 8 weeks break.
Oh, it's not 3 months. Okay.
No, between
Okay.
the first and the second is 1 month, and then I do 2 months.
Okay. And after that?
Because that's why I was asking you the question, because it looked to me kind
Okay.
of long. And then I will do 3 months.
Oh, and then 3 months. So after this one, she should have a 3-month break.
Yes, but it also depends of your client. Okay, because here we have important problematic on the depressive side. So we may need to maybe do just a 2 month break to stimulate more. Okay, and give her,
Okay.
because the problem in depression is that the person is not able to charge herself in this case. So we
Mhm.
need to help her. She needs to try to do, even if it's 2 minutes of forebrain, okay,
Okay.
but sitting down, not lying down,
Yes.
because
Yes, exactly.
so even if it's 1 minute, doesn't matter, but to
Okay.
progressively get her into the
Wonderful.
into the work, and to have less shorter breaks okay, we need a break, at least 2 months, but after 2 months, maybe start again, and then we can make 2 months and a half, and then 2 months again. We play like that in function of the
Okay.
problematic. If she's feeling better, then you can do a longer break, a 3 months break.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. Up. Okay, I have a problem because the next one was Yvon, but he had to go away. He sent me a message.
Oh no.
He had a. Okay, I don't know if the person is here. Jason. I don't see him, so I'm not going to be able to do this.
Excuse me. Would it be possible to have your PowerPoints from the first, well, from all three of these webinars?
I'm not the one. It's Solange who takes care of that. I don't know if they send them or not.
But it is possible? Okay, so I would have to ask Solange. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It's
Thank you very much.
okay. Then I have Christina. Michael, can you present your case or not? Because let me just a second. I will, because Michael, for me it's very hard to present if I don't have the background history and so on the case. Okay, the microphone is not working. I would still like your input on the chart. Doing a third loop right now started with F, then emotion 1B. The problem is that I have almost no history here, and I cannot know about what's going on. Okay, the only thing I can say just okay on the test, the only thing I can say, because I don't wait just a second. So if I put your Ian Yan age 6 difficulty focusing classroom setting, hear children's voice very well but has difficulties hearing adult voices. So here well, it's quite a classical test. Well, need to be checked that there's no ear infections. I don't know if it was done or not. But when you have curves like that, with the bone curve, with spatialization errors in ear curve, you really need to check out that there's no ear infection or something that makes that sound cannot go through. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then you did the first session 13 days with the F program, improved emotional control, anger has subsided, better focus. Okay, so that's the second test. We still have an overlap of the bone and the error curve, a lot of errors of spatialization. I guess the selectivity test was not done, I guess, and laterality either, I don't know, because wait, I don't see any selectivity here. It is the same. The selectivity has to be done. If the child doesn't understand, you just write doesn't understand. It means the selectivity is close. Okay, because that's a very important for us for the interpretation information that we need to have. Okay, so then second session, 13 days, combination of emotion 1B, emotion 1A with valves add for vestibular stimulation, because there's already valves in the program, I think, on emotion 1B or emotion 1A, I don't remember exactly. Okay, be careful of not adding too much vestibular, just one valve per day. Okay, you don't put two valves per day because you're gonna depress your client after a while. So be careful with that. So very good progress since the curves are going back up. My problem to help you with a program is I don't know what the goal is here of your client. What is the objective? Okay, or I missed it somewhere. Okay, so what you can try to do is start working, maybe if it's possible, even if it's young and 6 years old, you can start working on active work. Since the curves are not too overlapping each other, you don't have, apparently there's no spatialization errors. I'm very surprised because we have I don't see spatialization errors in bone conduction, which surprised me. So we have them in error, so it's not normal at that age. So I'm lacking some information on the test. Okay, we need the selectivity. I don't know why there are no spatialization errors. Well, maybe there's no spatialization errors. The only thing here is that the flatness of the bone curve is very important. So it's gonna hard to, we were talking about focusing, perceiving certain voices, and so on. The ear, when it's very flat like that, is like I perceive everything the same manner. So you're gonna have a masking effect of the low frequencies compared to the higher frequencies. Okay, where there's more sensitivity here on the higher frequencies. So maybe that's why he reacts more to children's voice, which are more into that register in general. We still have a problem here in the vestibular area, maybe a little bit too much valse, I don't know. But I think we could try, maybe if you could do some active work. I don't know about lateralizing because I don't know the result. Maybe we shouldn't lateralize because of the imbalance on the vestibular level, but it could be interesting that he works on his voice and hears his voice and maybe lateralize from 10 to 7 to help him a little bit to focus more on his voice and on the linguistic area to focus on other people's voice also. So I think that could be a possibility for his third program. Okay, well, I hope it helps. If you want to send me more information by mail, and we can discuss it on mail if you like. But the still too flat curve, so we're gonna try to work on the linguistic part with the reading, and let's work with a linguistic 1A program. Okay, if there's no epileptic and so on, but since you did the motion 1A, I guess there's no problems at that level. Okay. Okay. So I still have one case study, which is Christina. I'm gonna open your microphone. Okay,
Everybody.
Christina, do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Okay, great. Hi. Hi, how are you, Valerie? We didn't manage to do what I wanted, but anyway, we'll do it next time.
Okay, perfect.
I don't have anything in front of me, so I'm going to work with what you show because I'm at home right now.
Okay,
but
perfect.
It's okay. So that was an 11-year-old boy that came. He's struggling with schoolwork. As I'm saying here, he devotes a lot of time to do his homework. The goal was really to try and work less hours, better results, and less effort. He also
That's
feels
what I want to
often
do
that,
also.
yes, especially less effort, better results. Yes. Well, if we can do that for him, we can do it for us.
Okay.
He also feels that he's mistreated by his teachers very often, and that he's not responsible for the way that for the fact that his teachers are mistreating him. He wants to improve his reading skills. He really reads like a robot. I mean, there's no change in his voice. It's amazing. It's like you want to stop him because he doesn't take a breath. It's really. and he wants to improve focus and concentration. So these are the main goals that he came.
Okay, when you say mistreated by his teachers, is the fact that the teachers tells him that he's not doing his work correctly and things like that?
That's right. Yes, that very often they pick on him, that the exam, the teacher didn't gave them a very difficult question, but he knew the material. It's always somebody else's fault.
Okay,
not
it's not his fault. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
I'll put the next slide.
Okay, so in general, he was very polite. He was smiling, but no emotions. He sort of shows that he wants to communicate, but is not a real desire for communication. He's the second child in the family. His older brother did not manage to go to university, so his mother really is eager for him to achieve. He's also willing to get good results at school, though. I mean, he wants to. It's not that he's indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
Difficulty in history, geography, writing, and maths. It takes him too long to learn these lessons, and it also takes him, he has problems understanding maths. He does not like to read long passages. He reads, but he does not understand what he's reading. It's not the fact that when he reads, you cannot, he doesn't have any difficulty in reading apart from his voice, but he does not really understand what he's saying.
Okay.
Anything else here? Not to repeat myself, I'm trying. Often talks back to his teachers. He's often angry. If he can, he reacts. If he feels that he cannot react for some reason, he does not. So he knows when to stop himself. He plays the role of the clown in class very often. Visual memory low, concentration difficulty. Just trying to say anything else. Okay. Cool handwriting. Does not like making mistakes. He's very stressed. I think that's it. He lies to his mother about that. His mother says that he's lying, but he says, well, I don't remember that I've got to do some things. In general, I think that's it for anamnesis from this page. I'm doing it quite quickly, so I try not to tell everybody. Shall we look at the test instead of this?
Yeah, we're gonna go to the test, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just give me a second to come on my screen. Okay, that's the first one.
Okay, there's some little things I don't understand. Do you have the laterality or not?
I do have the laterality, yes, but I cannot see it as I have sent it to you. Is it 9-9? It's, I think it's 9-9.
Okay.
Because it's the two numbers up that I have. Extraction 9, I think that's a 9. Yeah, I think that's a 9. Okay. Extraction 9 and resistance 9.
So 9-9. Okay, so we are 9 more 5, 7, 0. So we have to go to 7.
We have to go to 7. Yes.
Okay. Then,
so of course I started with
the selectivity. I don't know what this means. It's close or?
The selectivity on bond conduction was close at 750.
Okay.
It's a line. We didn't know if it was going up and down.
Okay.
Selectivity close air conduction on the left at 2000, where the arrow is pointing up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then on the right here, air conduction, it was open. Bond conduction close again at 750.
Okay. Okay, so that's first test.
Sorry, Valerie,
it's his first test, okay?
His first test, yes, okay, his first test. Of course, we can see on the bond conduction, in general, the air conduction has got balance and symmetry. Bond conduction, big difference. We can see a very big drop. Unfortunately, I've got the short version of the test, not the long version of the test. So there's a big gap, a really big gap going, I cannot see, from what is it, one,
At 1,000, we have a big
yeah,
gap here. You mean?
at 1,000 we have a big gap, yes.
And also in the...
And also, so of course, what we can see on the middle frequencies on the language, as I said, on the right, on the left ear, that the bone conduction with the ear conduction, there is a very, very big difference between these. And this is the lack of communication, that his air conduction goes, it's pretty flat. There is like a small loop, I could say, up. But I think it really shows that he does not communicate in reality. Yes, he's polite. Yes, he communicates with the outside world, but this is not coming in. He's not really communicating with himself and the outside world.
Well, his curve, the bone curve is quite flat. Huh?
The bone, yes.
And here we have kind of, well, it's hard with the short version, but there's a big drop in this area. And generally this is a big tension, okay, inside the communication area, which is more on the left ear. Remember what I was saying last time, we relate more to the past. So in previous experience, there's something that has not been digested, if we can say that like that. So it's going to be hard to, if it's not okay over here, it's going to be very hard to manage the present. Okay.
Yes.
And we have a lot of errors of specialization on both ears, at least 6 or more. So we have to take them into account. Okay. So
I think what is, yeah. So what I did is, of course, I did an F program. I started doing some active work on the 9th, I think, day. His reading has improved. Okay, so after the first program, his reading improved. He's starting to have some musicality in his voice when he reads. He already spends much less time studying. I mean, he had really good results, but it's quite, I think, interesting, because when we look at the second test, we will see that he had, I think, more specialization errors. I'm not sure that this is the one that I sent you, but I think he had more.
Yeah,
we'll
second
see it in
test.
a minute.
Yeah.
Yes, he had more specialization errors, which you showed us, I think it was the first or the second, that sometimes after a program, we have more specialization errors. And this was quite interesting when I saw it on his as well, that he's trying to adapt, really. All these changes are very difficult for him. Still, we have ups and downs, showing a lot of tension. The small gap, the gap we had at 1,000, now it starts at 2,000, I think, and it, we have gaps, but ups and downs all the time, again on the left ear especially. But on the right ear, we have another gap going in the middle of the middle zone. So there are a lot of ups and downs, but I like the changes that are happening. I feel that the bone conduction is starting to take a form compared to the previous one.
Well, we can say it's better, but selectivity open also quite well. Open. So that's
selectivity open.
That's nice. One thing is we still have an imbalance on the vestibular part. Okay, so this for writing is a problem, for mathematics also, because you have to integrate the body to be able to then process mathematical things, if we can say like that. Then we have curves which are quite flat. The air curve is quite flat. Which is also a sign of no communication. Okay, it's the outside world. I'm not too in contact with the outside world, and when you have a dip like this with a gap in between the air and the bone, the air being flat, the bone, it means that generally the person, like you were saying, can lie, doesn't really want to communicate. Okay.
Yeah.
Why, that's another story, yes. But we need to get it. But it's like I close myself and I don't want to get in touch with what's happening around. And generally, it's a more when they turn in that way, it's more aggressive. Okay. And here her laterality is 810, right?
Yeah. So it's 8, I think, isn't it?
I don't know what the 1610.
No, it's just how we put the machine. So it's 10 extraction, 8 resistance. So I think
Okay,
it's
10 and 8. Okay.
8.
Yeah, okay, 7. We're around 7, 8. Okay, so we need
Yeah.
to keep the laterality down to 7. I would, or 8. In fact, you have lateralized or not?
Yes, I have lateralized. Yes. I haven't done a test now. He has finished the second one. He's working on full brain, and he works on full brain, and he worked between the first and the second one on full brain a lot. And I think this is another thing that helped him with geography, that he felt that he could work faster, much faster. He did a lot of his lessons. His reading was done with the full brain in between the break.
Okay, so that's very, very good. Well,
Yeah.
his curves have improved in a very important manner. Okay, now he has to the air curve is not good. It's flat and going down. Okay, it's also flat here. As you say, there's a little bit more ascending, but with a lot of distortions, particularly on the vestibular. And here you have quite dips and peaks and a big separation on there's a big gap, so a distance. Okay, it's like you have the head and the body, and we need to put them together, if we can say like that. So for linguistic possibilities, it's not very easy when you have this type of situation. Okay.
Choosing a program, I mean, not going to specific pieces. I don't remember what I had chosen the second time. What is the program? Valerie, could we just go a bit back to see what I chose to do as a second program at the time? Do I say anymore?
I don't see the programs.
Yeah.
And write it here.
Yeah, I think it was FE1B I chose to do as a second program.
Okay. Well, now he needs to do a new test, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, because we need to wait to see what how the vestibular part has modified itself. When you have this type, did you check this point with him? Like to retest when you have drops like that. Okay, try to retest to see if he just his attention went away, or if he really is not reacting to this frequency. Because a point just like that in the middle of nowhere with such a big difference, it's kind of weird.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So it's you need to. This is more normal because we have quite a few points that form this. That just one point like this that disappears is sometimes it's because the person is not putting attention. Okay, which is gives you information on his attention problematic, but you need to check it out. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Do you have questions, Christina? What do you plan on doing for the next program?
I was planning of maybe again combining E and L. Of course, doing the test, but doing E and L, maybe E1B, L1B.
Okay. And what about doing some reading?
Yes. Of course. I mean, he did active work on. This is before starting to do the second program, and he has done active work all the way through from day 2, I think, following the prerequisites. But he did active work every day. So I haven't tested him yet to see what the results are.
Okay, so that would be interesting to see how.
Yeah. I have seen, as I said to you last time when we met, I've seen great, amazing results with the active work. Everything works much faster.
Yes. Yeah, because it puts, like I was saying, the person really into advance and motions into movement
Yeah,
and integrate self-confidence. So that's why it's so important, and that's why the forebrain is also so important.
yeah,
Even if
yeah.
people who don't have access directly to active work, the use of forebrain is really an excellent tool. Yes.
Yeah. So he did active work the whole way for the second program. He did active work all the way through.
Okay,
10
excellent.
minutes a day, and I think at the end, 10 minutes a day, not more. No, I didn't give him more than 10 minutes a day.
Well, that's quite enough.
Yeah.
Okay. See, maybe on the next program to keep going on the maybe I wouldn't mix programs here if he's depending on his test, but if it's okay, just go into a linguistic programs, and maybe use some filters. Did you put filters on the reading, on the voice?
I did. Just give me a second. Yes, I did put filters on the voice. I think I have my.
Well, I don't know if
Yes,
if you left
I
the
did. Yes,
documents at work or not.
2000, 1000, and let me just see the last days. And then, Valerie, I don't know if I should have done this, but I changed to reading 3 at the end. Again, filters 1500. It's just that the speed was different.
Yes, faster speed.
Faster speed, yeah.
Um,
And 1000 at the end.
Sorry?
1000 at the end. The last
Okay.
day 11 and 12.
How old is he?
12.
Okay, so we can start. Oh, here's the. Okay, on this one, for me, the active is a little bit fast. Okay, when you see the distortions he had on the curves, well, it did good, so that's a good thing. But I wouldn't have started with the first curve I saw. I wouldn't have put actives on the first program. Okay, because you really need to work globally so we can adjust the vestibular system, all the frequencies, also adjust. Remember that's very important, that when you start with a full spectrum, you are working on the emotional level. Okay, with a child who's aggressive, who's stressed, who gets angry easily, who thinks that people don't like him, that are bothering him on purpose, and so on. You really need to calm down the sympathetic system, which is kind of overreacting. Okay, so for me this is a little bit too fast,
too early.
Yeah. You really need it. It's really good to have one session where you work on a global manner, maybe more if necessary, and I would have done the active work clearly on the second. Okay. Okay, good to stay online on lateralization, because since he gets angry, he's a little bit irritable, and it's the others who are problematic. I wouldn't lateralize him too much for the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. But also on language. Okay. Okay. I would stop here on laterality with him for the moment, depending on the results of his following test.
Yeah.
And the changes that you can see on his at the emotional level on his behavior, if he becomes a little bit more aware that he's also responsible for what the teachers tells him.
Yeah.
So that's also very important, that he can change, because that's complicated. If the child doesn't understand why or doesn't want to see why, it's hard to keep moving also sometimes. Okay, I don't know if there are other questions. I can try, if you want me to put the microphones on, maybe if there's not too much noise, if people want to ask questions. I don't have other case studies. Okay, so the microphones are open. I don't know if somebody wants to ask question or you want to write the question. Okay, nobody wants to ask questions. No more questions.
Yes, Valerie.
Yes.
I have a question about the laterality test. I'm a little bit confused when the sound is traveling from the left ear to the right, and then the second test from the right to the left. But when is the moment when the sound is on the other side? Is that just after the midline, or is it 3/4 down, or is it right into the right ear? Because if it's right in the right ear, then your score will be 2. That's as far as you can go. So I'm a bit confused about that.
If you look at the let me just a second. Oh, somebody's arriving. Well, no, I don't have it here, so I cannot put it. Okay. Here. Okay, when you start your test, you are on 70 on the left ear, okay, 70 decibels, okay, and I think it's 30. It is. It's not. I think it is. That's why you have a gain of 40. It's 30 on the left ear, on the right ear. Sorry. Okay. As you bring the button down, as you turn down the dial, as the person is counting down, okay, you're changing the intensity from the left and you're increasing on the right ear. Okay, so when you're on 10-10, 0-0 means that you have the same intensity in both ears. Okay, and then when you go 9-8-7-6-5, here the intensity is stronger on the right, and when I go down here, it's stronger. It means that when you go from 18 to 2, here the intensity is stronger on the left ear. Starting at 10, you have the same intensity, and here the intensity is lower on the left ear. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's the contrary for the resistance test. Okay? Where you also start on 70, so intensity of 70 on the right ear, and then you bring it down. Here you're at 10, and then you lower the intensity. The intensity is stronger here on the yellow. The intensity is stronger on the left ear. And that's why the gain is the difference. Okay, here we are at 40 like we were here, but it's the difference. So we start.
I understand the graph, what you're showing here. The only difficulty I have is when you actually do it with the client. I've been taught to kind of say to the client, then let me know when the sound is on the other side.
Yes.
Now, I'm confused. When is the sound on the other side? If it's when it's first time, you kind of think it's on the right, or when it's quite into the right?
You have to the instruction given is to you set your machine on 70-30, okay, on extraction position, and then you ask your client, you tell him you hear yourself. See, now you hear yourself very strongly on the left ear, and you have to tell me at what moment you hear yourself clearly on the right side. And it's the client who's going to give you the answer. When he says to you, I hear myself on the right side, you register the answer. So his answer can be on 13 or it can be on 6, wherever you are. You have to go down with the dial, Okay, the how you call it,
Yes.
LCD dial on the left, on your left hand, you bring it down progressively. Every two counts, you
Yeah.
bring down one. Okay, that's why you
Yeah.
shouldn't go too fast or too slow, because if you go too fast, you don't give enough time for the person, for the audio vocal loop to take place and the person perceive himself on the right or on the left. So that's why we have to go slowly, but not too slow either. If not, it takes forever. But it's the client who's going to tell you, oh, now I perceive myself clearly on the right side if you are on extraction, or clearly on the left side when you are doing the resistance test.
Okay.
And you
Yeah.
register the answer at the moment they give you. So you're going to be on 7 or on 14 or 16. So it's the client who that's why it's more objective than what we used to do, because here it's the client who tells you when he perceives himself clearly. So that's very important. It's not I perceive myself both sides. No, that's not what we're asking. It's when you perceive yourself clearly on the right or on the left
On
test
the
if it's
left.
the resistance test. It's a test which is harder with the children, okay? Because sometimes we ask them, the instruction is to count up, so they have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And sometimes they are counting, but they don't hear the changes because they're concentrating on how they are counting. So sometimes it's a little bit harder with children, but it just takes, you have to get used to doing it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if you have other questions.
I do have another question. On the reporting sheet, we have balance, we have symmetry, and all these areas. Then we have body zone, and then AC, left ear, right ear, BC, left ear, right ear, and you make observations about the curves.
Yes.
But I'm a little bit confused with that, because I thought that we look at the curve and yes, we make our observations, but we try to connect that to the client with a comment like, this shows maybe why he has depression, or this maybe is why he has handwriting problems.
Yeah. That's how you're supposed to do it that way. You can.
Yeah, but
Yeah. That's
do you look,
it's just to
do you
help you.
always, yeah, you always look at the AC and the BC in relationship, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
of
this
course,
is
yes.
quite separated for me.
Yes, but we look we look at both, but the relation has to be done between the air and the bone curve. That's clear.
Okay,
Okay, but we can
okay,
see if
thank you.
in the air curve is a big drop and not on the other one. You can do. It's just to help you analyze the test, but then you fill it up more or less the way you want to fill it up. But yeah, what makes sense is to have the interpretation. Uh, to relate the interpretation to what the client is telling you.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that's
okay,
that's clear.
thank you.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if some of you have case studies they wanted to present or not. I don't know if there are, if you would like, because since last time I was thinking maybe we could add one more, if you like, one more presentation just to do case studies. If you have more case studies to present, so with no payment. Okay, so it's a free for the persons who have participated to the 3 webinars. If you like to have one more presentation on case studies, we can arrange it. And so what we'll do, if I will let Solange get in touch with you if you would like to participate to this. So we will send you the question if you want to participate to this new to have a new presentation, but on your case studies. And if there's enough people, I will do it with pleasure. If you want to have one more presentation like we have had, okay? So we will send you the question and let us know what you would like. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna stop here and thank you for your participation. And I hope it brought some information. And maybe I see some of you in Paris at the convention. Okay. Thank you very much, and bye bye. Just keep me up.
Thank you, Valerie.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Thank you, Valerie. Bye.
Bye bye.